Hi, Faith.
Hi, Wanda.
So your book's coming out soon. When is it coming out again?
April 5th is the official release date. But if you want to see a little preview, you can go to PaganiCon and check out the PaganiCon website, and that will be at the end of March. And you can see me give a talk about mythology and maybe have a chance at some early sales.
Tell us a little bit more about your book.
Well, it's a historical fiction fantasy, and it is set in kind of human prehistory times in the Aegean Sea. And it follows this main character. His name is Tyrus. He's the grandson of Noah. There are tales of demigod-like beings that before the floods, they ruled over the earth and enslaved mankind and did a bunch of evil things. And they were all wiped out in the flood, or so we think. Maybe one of them survived.
How did you even come up with this idea?
In my undergrad, I was an ancient history major. And so I love ancient cultures. And I wanted to write a story. You know how like Lord of the Rings is kind of the origin story of mythology for like England? I wanted to write one for all of those classical cultures that we read all those great stories about, like the Greeks and the Romans and the Egyptians and the Africans and the Near Eastern peoples. And I wanted to kind of fuse those cultures and their mythologies all together into one story. And I thought I would kind of write that out. And that's where I came up with the idea.
It's pretty fun.
It's so fun. You should read it.
What's your favorite part of the book?
I think my favorite part of the book is that while it is like a big fantasy tale of this unique family and how they survived, it's like the really human aspects of it, like, right? Like no matter how different you are, we're all like the same, but that in the world we live in, people try to other people. And so kind of one of the underlying, kind of concepts or themes is just, how does that happen? Like what does that lead to? Like, are anybody really the bad guy, or are they just kind of led down a bad road because they picked a side and they felt that they needed to pick a side? Also, there may be a dragon.
Every story needs a dragon.
Every story needs a dragon.
So you're telling us about the antagonist. Tell us more about the protagonist.
Yeah, so the main story kind of follows like two specific families. So I play off of the idea of, in the Old Testament of the Bible, there was, Noah and the flood, and then he had 3 children on the ark, and they all had wives, and so I just kind of play with that idea a little bit. Essentially, 3 tribes of people that came out of Noah who, if you kind of take that story out of the Bible and you just kind of blend it with the rest of the religions and the mythologies and the cultures of the era, it's very similar to like the story of the Greek gods and Zeus, and it's very tied to some of the Roman tales and even some ancient African tales, like this concept that, this powerful being like set things in motion, created things, all very the same, right? So instead of just being Noah and his ark, like if he really is the last person in the world, he's basically what I would consider the All-Father. And that kind of gave into that kind of brought in kind of the Norse culture into that. And then there's a story also in Genesis where one of the sons does something bad, and we don't know what it is, but I kind of play with that story a little bit, and you'll see how that plays out, and it kind of gets into one family gets exiled and has to find a completely new home, but then another family don't want to be the cause of bad things and bad blood between the families, so they also leave and go out on their own. And this tale is just going to follow those 2 families and how they kind of reconnect.